During the really hot summer months is when you're most likely to want a nice, crisp, cool garden salad, but it's also when a lot of greens will wilt in the heat. So what do you do? Hey, and welcome back to Mini Urban Farm, a channel about gardening and homesteading in the suburbs. In today's video, I'm going to tell you exactly how I manage to grow garden salads in the summer, even when it's 90 degrees and above. Let's go. Alright, so tip number one is something that I definitely wish I would have known of before I started even getting into growing salad greens, and it is to grow heat-resistant and heat-tolerant varieties of greens. Now, there are a whole bunch of different varieties of salad greens that you can grow that will not wilt in the summer. One of my favorites is arugula. My arugula is thriving right now. We have so much of it, and it's actually one of my favorite things to put in my salads. Another one that does really well in the heat is Swiss chard. Now, both of these things are not really your traditional lettuce, but they have a lot of nutrients in them, and you can grow them and cook them in other things as well. They can be used for much more than just salad. So growing heat-resistant varieties, you can choose from a whole bunch of them, but if you grow these types of things, you don't have to worry about them wilting in the heat of summer, and you don't have to take as much care of them as if you're trying to grow things that don't normally grow in the heat. All you have to do is look up heat-resistant or heat-tolerant greens. You'll get an entire list, and you can even find a lot of heat-resistant varieties on seed websites, right? If you go onto Baker Creek or Burpee or Johnny Seeds or any one of those, usually they have an entire list or a filter that you can add to only populate the ones that are resistant to heat. Alright, so my second tip is to grow non-traditional salads. Now, what exactly do I mean by a non-traditional salad? Your normal garden salad or Caesar salad or any kind of things that has a lot of green leaves in them, those are traditional salads, right? You're used to seeing salads with a whole bunch of green and lettuce and all of that stuff in them, and sometimes every once in a while you get maybe some cucumbers and some onions and tomatoes and things like that as the addition to the salad. Now, you can grow things that make up an entire salad by themselves without leafy greens. For example, you can grow an entire tomato garden for just tomato salad. I like to grow lots of different varieties of tomatoes. I grow orange peach tomatoes, I grow grape tomatoes, I grow a whole bunch of different types of tomatoes, and you can add feta cheese to them, onions. You don't have to include leafy greens in order to make it a salad. You can add dressing to those things by themselves. You can grow the ingredients for a Greek salad or something like that. You know, you can use different ingredients to comprise the salad without leafy greens. One of my favorite things is cucumber salad, and so I've actually grown mouse melon this season, and I'm getting tons and tons of these little cucumbers, so I could definitely add some tomatoes, some scallions into that, and some vinaigrette dressing and make that an entire salad all by itself. Alright, so next up we have to grow in the shade. Now, if you have a shady spot, you're more likely to be able to grow salad greens when it is very hot outside, simply because the shade spots don't heat up that much. Now, I have my entire garden here set up against the house. Whenever I know I'm going to be growing arugula or Swiss chard or anything, even non-heat resistant in the summer or in the hotter months, I always put it here next to the house, because the house does provide a lot more shade than the other side of the garden, which gets tons more sun during the day. So if you're going to try to grow salad greens, especially non-heat resistant varieties, try to grow them in the shade. You can also use shade cloth. You can use burlap, things like that, to add more shade into your raised beds. You can definitely tunnel your raised beds or your rows. You put like the little tunnel over them and put some shade cloth, tie them up at the ends, and you're able to grow a lot more things if you're controlling the climate that they're in. So growing in the shade definitely provides a better environment for growing sensitive leafy greens in the summer. Alright, so fourth up on the list is to use mulch. Now, I am definitely guilty of not using tons of mulch. I don't often bring in mulch to the garden. I definitely prefer to use a live mulch, which is a really good option as well. But mulching really does help to decrease the amount of water that is being evaporated from the soil. So when you're growing leafy greens, it's twofold, right? You are getting the heat from above, the leafy greens are wilting from the actual heat in the air, but the water is also evaporating through the soil, which means that the roots are drying out and the entire plant just wilts. But in combination with the other things, if you are mulching or planting out a live mulch, then there's less water evaporation through the soil, especially in raised beds where water evaporation happens much more quickly than if you are planting in ground, and that is a great way to reduce the amount of water leaving your plants and ultimately keeps your salad greens alive for much longer. Alright, so last up on this list is to water consistently. Now, this is especially true with plants that have very shallow roots. If you're growing things like tomatoes that have very, very deep roots, you can get away with not watering as consistently because they prefer deep watering. But things like salad greens, they have very, very shallow roots. And so you really need to be watering on a consistent basis because they don't have that reservoir of water in their roots that happens in a deeper soil level, even in raised beds. So if you are on a drip irrigation system, make sure you're providing ample amount of water. If you're watering manually, make sure you don't skip any days in the heat of summer. It's really important for these kind of plants to get water. They do not like stress a lot. They will wilt if they have any sort of stress. I have definitely seen that in my own plants when I grow salad greens. Last season I grew red romaine lettuce, and anytime that I wasn't watering consistently back when I didn't have an irrigation system, I would notice that the leaves would wilt and they don't come back as quickly when you water them as other plants do, right? If you are watering tomato plants, once a week, they tend to wilt, but as soon as you water them, the plants just come back alive, and that is true for a lot of deep-rooted plants. However, salad greens, not so much. The minute that they wilt, they no longer have that same fresh, crisp consistency, and they will die. Alright guys, so that wraps up our very quick 5 tips for growing salad greens in the summer. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you're able to grow a lot more garden salads moving forward in the upcoming summer months. If you did enjoy this video, please give me a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to the channel for more urban gardening, urban homesteading, and all of that type of content. I will see you in the next one. Thanks!